So as we move on, this is important because it's still amazing to me today that we would still trust what we're being fed, a bill of goods constantly all the time, especially if you're listening to any mainstream media, because mainstream media is only owned by two people. There's only two portions, Reuters and AP Press. And it's owned by one guy who's controlled by who? The elite. But you see, the elite still want you to continue focusing on that date, because when nothing happens, it'll be a cry wolf. So you won't prepare. And they're thrilled. Because in a situation they know with this change that is going to be happening, there's too many of us. And so they have their own little mandate out here as well. On top of these natural events, the elite, that means that 1% of the world that own everything, all the banks, all the companies, all the corporations, all the politicians, all the world governments, yes, those, they're actually existing. When you hear the word conspiracy theorist, they make you think that they're crazy when they're giving you real truth normally and real data because they've researched it. So you should be suspicious right away. You should be suspicious about why they're not telling you about these events. They lie to you about everything else. We know about the Twin Towers. We know that was an inside job. We know that was all set up, or we should. There's plenty of information and data. To see more information about that, you should just go to Netflix of the documentary, what is it called? Uncovered, the truth behind the war in Iraq, and see more data, more information on that. But it was something they had planned back in the 70s. Again, they brought it up back in the 90s. And this is just their way to control us. If they instill fear, literally they can continue their mandates, which they've been doing quite so long, and they keep you busy. They keep you on the hamster wheel. All the games, all the little features and TVs and big things that keep coming out, so you won't focus. And then those credit cards, you got to pay for them, so you got to go to work, so you're on the hamster wheel again, and then they get you to do what they want. They collect all the gold and the money, which they've taken. So what ends up happening is you're still on the hamster wheel. Keep them focused. Keep them distracted. Yeah. Did you know that the elite have built more than 129 bunkers for safety in the United States, and that was 2 years ago. So there's more sense. So this is real factual information. I can give you all that data as we move on here. But again, what you're seeing or allowed to see is just the tip of the iceberg. What we want you to see here today, I want you to open to the reality of the situation. So I believe when you're prepared with knowledge, there's no fear. You just get in there and do it if you choose. Everybody has free will. And we're going to talk about how to prepare. Now, what's happening worldwide? I'm not sure if you're aware of these things. But we have all these issues happening worldwide today. Literally, this is just the nature side. I'm not sure if you're aware of the dead birds and fish that are being found all over the world in the last 3 years. In the thousands, all of a sudden they wash ashore. All of a sudden the birds fall in the thousands from the sky. And that's several places around the world. Now, two things are happening. They found sometimes there's a HAARP signature, especially when the birds are flying. A HAARP signature, which is a man-made device that the elite use to control weather. If there's a storm, they can crank it up to make the storm worse or turn it down, okay? And that's based on the work of Nikola Tesla. But what happens is we find that there's a strong, many times with the dead birds or fish, with the dead birds especially, a strong strike or HAARP signature that must hit a signal for their natural GPS inside. They have a migratory pattern that's encoded in their, how can I say it, in their nature. And so ultimately we see chemtrails, and nobody knows what those are, but there are all kinds of really good data and information on what those are, and they've been doing that. What those X's and W's and Y's in the sky are not natural. Those aren't clouds. When they first started spraying those chemicals, they were just stripes, and they looked too fake. So they started to make them with a chemical process that would now feather out, so nobody would notice. But a jet trail stays behind a jet for 10 to 15 seconds only. It doesn't stay all day in the sky. And we found that there are a large or literally copious amounts of aluminum, barium, and other carcinogenic, literally, how can I say, chemicals that are placed in that are being sprayed and are now being found in our ground soil and groundwater, as well as our water sources. Now we know that aluminum, especially the largest, is not good for anyone. That creates or causes problems with Alzheimer's and everything else. It's a cause that causes us not to function properly. But strange sounds, these huge sounds that sound like trumpets in the sky, everywhere in the world. And people you can hear them taping. YouTube is wonderful, gives free reign. Like, what is that sound? And they're calling the police and wondering what's happening. The police get hundreds of calls, but everywhere anywhere in the world. I'll play
I'm hearing, looking out my window right now, hearing some strange sounds out there. I have no idea, like, it's coming straight out of the sky. What is that?
¿Qué es esa picha? Esa picha, güey. Concha tu madre.
I don't know if you can hear it because my camera has really bad sound quality because it's just a regular point and shoot, but I know I'm hearing, like, I don't know, it sounds really weird. It's kind of like a humming, singing kind of noise. I don't know, it's hard to hear, but here, listen. Like, I don't know where it's coming from. Like, I don't know what direction it's coming from, but I just started hearing it. I don't know if this is, like, related at all to the trumpets, as people would call it, but I don't know, I kind of think it is, so I don't know, but...
Did you feel that? I can feel it. Yeah. It's like earlier. I don't know. But it sounds like it's like, I don't know. I can actually feel it vibrating. Really? It's like this hum.
this is interesting because it's like the Bible, the last chapter of Revelation tries to discuss it, but it's kind of cloaked in disguise, the trumpets, the sound of the seventh trumpet, just before the changes happen. I got to tell you, sometimes I feel like Noah around here, because like people, oh yeah, sure. But I'm just trying to say, I'm just doing what I'm told. And because of my spiritual connection, what I do, this is important that you understand this. Now we could go on, we won't go too far, because even here and everywhere in the world so far, there's not been one place that hasn't had these sounds. It's just that you might not have heard them. So spiritually, what we're supposed to do is be aware, wish those people, send the intention that they be able to find wholeness and heal from their losses, to be able to find prosperity once again. We need to do that and send that intention to them, as well as we need to prepare. If it happened to them and it's happening over there, we need to learn to prepare. So the earthquakes we've been hearing, I don't know if you know this, but in 2000, I'm watching all these scientific things, so got the computer and I'm looking at usgs.gov, and it shows a week's amount of earthquakes on the North American continent. And in those days, it's like 200 something a week, you know, mostly in California, and it's normal. And then all of a sudden it started to creep to 3 to 4. Now there's 1,000 to 13,000 a week, just in a 7-day period in the North American continent, and places I've watched that never had them before. I kept watching 4.0s and 3.0s in Oklahoma forever. And have you ever heard about earthquakes in Oklahoma? But it would be constant. And then we see them on the West Coast, the East Coast, in Kentucky just a few weeks ago. All around, because the earth herself, she's preparing to move. She's moving, doing her natural quality. Now remember what I said about souls that were here, the ones that were allowed, all of you that are listening, if you choose. You were only allowed on the planet, because remember there's a copious amount of people from all souls, all from the cosmos coming like, oh, they're going to grow, plus the earth is evolving too, oh, let's go there. You were only allowed because on your spiritual list or Akashic record, or on the account of your life or soul existence, you had to have been through earth cataclysm before and excelled. Otherwise you were not allowed to be here at this time to go through it. That is why you were here. But each soul came lucky and thrilled because they signed in for it. And they have coded on a soul level where each one decided to be during these time of changes and what they would do. Some of them are just finishing off their little work, their studies and their personality and soul growth and doing what they need to do, and that'll be it for them. Others may change and find that they need to save a child before that child falls off something. That child ends up being a mayor or a governor later on. That's their job. And others are here to rebuild in community, which is the whole purpose.